There's a war happening every morning, and you're either the commander of your day or a prisoner to chaos. The ancient Stoics believed that victory isn't won on the battlefield, but in the quiet, disciplined rituals before the world wakes up. Today I'm going to share with you a Stoic morning routine so powerful. It rewires your brain, sharpens your will, and unleashes a version of you that even your enemies would respect. And here's the twist. It's built not just on Stoicism, but also laced with principles from dark psychology. You'll learn how to bend your mind and influence others with calm, power, and presence. This is not your average self-help fluff. This is mental warfare. Welcome to Stoic Mastery, the place where ancient wisdom meets modern domination. If you're ready to lead instead of follow, to think deeper, act sharper, and live stronger, subscribe now, turn on notifications, and become part of a legion of men and women who rise with power every morning. Now let's break down the 7-part Stoic morning routine that will change your life forever. Section 1. The wake-up war. Rise before your weakness does. That's not a motivational quote. That's a battle cry. When you hit snooze, you're not just delaying your day. You're surrendering your throne before the war has even begun. The first few seconds of your morning determine whether you conquer or crawl. And here's something both the Stoics and modern dark psychology agree on. The mind is most vulnerable, most programmable, and most easily dominated right after you wake up. Let that sink in. Your brain is in a highly suggestible alpha state during the first 20 minutes of the day. The modern world, media, distractions, fear, knows this. That's why your phone buzzes. That's why social apps are designed to hit you first. Because if they can grab your attention early, they own your mindset all day. But you're not here to be owned. You're here for mastery. The first ritual of the Stoic morning, silence before the storm. Before anything, before talking, scrolling, moving, sit in silence. Not the peaceful kind, the powerful kind. The kind of silence a general holds before commanding an army. You sit, you breathe, you observe. Ask yourself, who do I need to become today? Not what do I need to do, but who must I become? Because Stoicism is about identity. It's not about chasing goals, but forging character. And in that morning silence, when the world is still asleep, you have the chance to shape yours. Now, if you don't take command here, dark psychology steps in, not from others, but from yourself. Your inner saboteur, your unconscious weakness, will run the script. You'll start scrolling, reacting, doubting. Your brain will default to emotion, distraction, and passivity. The Stoics called this the war within, and you either win it first thing or you lose it all day. Write this in the comments right now. I command my mornings. My empire begins at dawn. Let this video be your turning point. And don't just comment for the algorithm. Do it for yourself. Make it real. The physical command, get up immediately. When the alarm hits, get up without negotiation. Not after 5 minutes, not after a stretch. You stand. That's your first command. That's the first signal to your subconscious that you are the one in control. Why is this crucial? Because the first decision of your day sets the neural tone for everything else. If your first action is resistance, discomfort, but you do it anyway, you condition your mind to obey discipline, not dopamine. That's dark psychology in action. You're reprogramming your reward system, teaching it that power comes from control, not comfort. This is how emperors were made. This is the first rule of the Stoic morning routine. Win the first moment, and the rest of the day submits. Section 2. The cold clarity ritual. Freezing weakness. Out of your body, you've won the first battle. You woke up without negotiation. Now you enter the second. The ritual of cold clarity. Let me warn you, this part isn't for the faint-hearted. This isn't self-care. This is self-conquest. Most people avoid discomfort like it's poison. The Stoic, however, embraces it like a forge. So here's the second pillar of the Stoic morning routine: voluntary discomfort through cold exposure. Cold showers, ice baths, or a splash of freezing water to the face. Why? Because cold is the perfect metaphor for life. It doesn't ask, it strikes. The Stoic reason: practicing voluntary hardship. Seneca practiced poverty and discomfort regularly, not because he had to, but because he knew the value of choosing suffering before suffering chose him. Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself all the while, "Is this the condition I feared?" Cold exposure is your modern version of that. And here's the dark psychology behind it. When you step into the cold, your nervous system lights up in full alert. Your heart races, your breathing spikes, your body screams for comfort. But if you hold, if you command yourself not to flee, you override a primal instinct. You train your body to obey your will, not your fear. This is the ultimate dominance exercise. You're telling your subconscious, "I do not fear discomfort. I own it. I weaponize it." The science of the shock. Beyond the ancient, the science backs it. Cold exposure increases norepinephrine by up to 530%. This neurochemical sharpens focus, discipline, and alertness, the exact state you want at the start of your day. Not only that, it builds emotional resilience. Regular exposure reduces cortisol sensitivity. That means fewer overreactions, fewer panic spirals, more control, more calm. Exactly what the Stoics were after: equanimity, the ability to stay unmoved when chaos surrounds you. You become an iceberg in a world of fire. Comment below: comfort is a lie. I train my will in the cold. Write it, declare it. This isn't a motivational video. This is your transformation in motion. The psychological reversal, making discomfort addictive. Here's a trick from dark psychology: state reversal. This means turning something painful into something pleasurable through mental association. How? You don't resist the cold, you welcome it. When the cold water hits, say, "This is power, this is control, this is my edge." Smile at the pain. It confuses your mind. It breaks the pattern of avoidance. This is what elite warriors do. They link pain with purpose. Most people are slaves to sensation. You are training to become the master of your state. By enduring what others escape, you unlock an inner chamber few dare to enter. You become the one people feel without understanding why. Because discomfort becomes your compass. How to implement the cold clarity ritual. Start with 30 seconds of cold water at the end of your normal shower. Each day, add 10-15 seconds until you reach 2 to 3 minutes. Focus on your breath. Maintain control. Do not shiver. Do not flinch. Stand like a Roman statue. Let the water hit you like a storm. Let your will stand like a mountain. This is how we freeze weakness. This is how we purify our mind through voluntary adversity. And again, if you haven't already, comment: comfort is a lie. I train my will in the cold. Make that phrase yours. Make it real. Section 3. Mental rehearsal, the Stoic visualization that rewires fate. You've claimed your wake-up. You've braved the cold. Now it's time for a practice so underestimated, yet so powerful, it was used by Roman emperors, elite warriors, and today by Olympic athletes and billionaires. It's called premeditatio malorum, the Stoic art of negative visualization. But this isn't just thinking about what could go wrong. This is wargaming your life. It's using your imagination not to escape reality, but to prepare for its darkest corners and rewire your nervous system for dominance. The Stoic technique, premeditation of misfortune. Each morning, After you've silenced the body with cold, sit or stand with spine straight. No phone, no noise. Close your eyes. Now imagine with absolute clarity everything that could go wrong today. The deal falls through. The car breaks down. Your reputation is questioned. A betrayal, a loss, a confrontation. Picture it all. Why? Because the Stoics didn't believe in naive optimism. They believed in mental armor. By rehearsing the worst with a calm heart, you inoculate yourself from panic. You walk into chaos with a steady pulse, while everyone else crumbles. This is how Marcus Aurelius ruled during plagues, wars, and rebellions. He didn't expect the best. He prepared for the worst. And when it came, he met it like a man who had already lived it 100 times. This is not fear-mongering. This is strategic exposure. The goal is not anxiety. The goal is control. You are not wishing misfortune. You are training for it, so it never owns you. Dark psychology, weaponizing the subconscious. Here's where dark psychology amplifies this Stoic technique. When you rehearse adversity with controlled breath and neutral emotion, you reprogram your subconscious. You send a message to your nervous system. Even when the worst happens, I will not break. This disrupts fear conditioning. It rewires your brain's survival system to stop reacting from emotion and start responding from logic. It's the exact opposite of how average people live, more emotionally hijacked, constantly unprepared. You, on the other hand, become bulletproof. And even better, you start seeing patterns before they unfold. You anticipate betrayal. You read behavior. You know the weak spots because you visualize the battlefield. That's how the Stoic becomes a strategist. Not just a thinker, but a tactician. Type this in the comments right now. I see every outcome. I bend fate through foresight. Let that become a mantra. Let it burn into your identity. Comment it to affirm. Comment it to lock it in. The practice. 5 minutes to mastery. Here's how to do it, step by step. Sit in stillness, right after your cold ritual. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly through your nose. Begin to play out possible events of your day. A difficult conversation, a sudden obstacle, a temptation to break your discipline. Feel the situation, but stay calm. Visualize yourself handling it with composure. End the session by imagining yourself rising above it all. Focused, steady, untouched. This is Stoicism in motion. This is dark psychology flipped for power, using fear not as an enemy, but as a guide. This is how you pre-live every challenge. So when reality strikes, it feels like déjà vu. Bonus: visualize the best, but with detachment. Once you've handled the worst in your mind, you can now visualize success, not with desperation, but with sovereignty. Imagine your goals. Speak them with calm certainty, but hold them loosely, not as needs, but as outcomes you are worthy of, but not owned by. That's real freedom, and freedom is the Stoics' ultimate currency. Comment again if you haven't already. I see every outcome. I bend fate through foresight. Say it with power. Say it with intention. This is you, stepping into your edge. Section 4. Body of the warrior, the morning movement that builds discipline, not just muscle. You've mastered your mind. You've trained your nervous system. Now it's time to sharpen the blade you walk the world with, your body. This is not about aesthetics. This is not about six-packs or mirror selfies. This is about something far deeper, embodied discipline, strength that radiates not from the biceps, but from your daily choices, from your ability to command pain, channel energy, and carry a body that reflects your inner code. Because the Stoic doesn't separate mind and body. He trains both every morning, like a warrior preparing for war. The ancient foundation, strength as a moral duty. The Stoics weren't soft philosophers sipping wine in quiet gardens. They were soldiers, gladiators, emperors. Marcus Aurelius led armies. Cato walked barefoot in winter. Epictetus, a former slave, trained himself to endure torment without complaint. They believed physical exertion was not optional, it was moral. A duty to yourself, to sharpen your will, and to remain dangerous but disciplined. In their world, if you couldn't control your body, you had no right to speak of virtue. So let's talk about the movement that should start every morning: intentional, disciplined training. Not a lazy jog, not scrolling between sets in a commercial gym. I'm talking ritual movement, a symbolic battle with resistance every single day. Dark psychology: why movement builds mental supremacy. Here's what most people don't realize. Every time you move your body with intention, you're reprogramming your identity. Your subconscious doesn't understand theory, it understands proof. Sweat is proof. Strain is proof. The mind says, I am disciplined, and the body says, prove it. That tension, that inner resistance you feel when you don't want to do that last push-up, that last sprint, that cold walk, that's your edge. And every time you override that resistance, you chip away at the part of you that lives in fear and softness. This is what dark psychology calls state dominance, when your higher mind asserts total control over base instinct. When you train in the morning, you're not just working out. You're building evidence that you do what others refuse, that you act in spite of pain, that you are willing to suffer in controlled environments so you don't collapse in the real ones. Comment right now. My body obeys discipline. I build power through pain. Say it. Type it. This is your declaration of physical sovereignty. You're not just lifting weight, you're lifting character. What you should do every morning. This part is simple. It's not about trends. It's about consistency. 10-20 minutes of functional strength or cardio. Push-ups, squats, kettlebell swings, sprints, shadow boxing, anything primal. Train without comfort. No air conditioning, no entertainment. Let the struggle purify you. Make it symbolic. As you move, tell yourself, this pain is mine. This power is earned. The movement itself is less important than the meaning you attach to it. That's where most people go wrong. They work out for looks. You move for mastery. When you train every morning, you're not just shaping your body, you're defining your response to adversity. You're carving the physical embodiment of your willpower, and the effects bleed into everything. You speak with more command. You make decisions with more precision. You walk with gravity, presence, unshakable energy, because you've already fought before 8 a.m. Bonus: the warrior's reflection. After training, pause for 1 minute. Look at yourself in the mirror, not to admire, but to affirm. Look into your own eyes and say, I did not negotiate, I conquered. You are building a body that is a vessel of virtue, not vanity. Comment again if you haven't. My body obeys discipline. I build power through pain. We read every comment. We respond to strength. Section 5. Stillness fire. The Stoic meditation that builds tactical calm in a loud world. The body has moved. The blood has surged. You've already done more than most people by sunrise. But now we shift into a different kind of power. The rarest kind. Stillness. Not laziness, not passivity. Stillness is a weapon. It's the blade the world doesn't see coming, because today's world is loud, chaotic, reactive. People scroll instead of sit. They speak without thinking. They chase every noise, every headline, every emotional twitch. And in that storm, the man who can sit still and command his own internal weather becomes untouchable. The Stoic principle: indifference to chaos, devotion to clarity. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire falling apart, wars, plagues, betrayals. But every morning he returned to his journal, not to vent, to anchor himself. He wrote not for inspiration, but for alignment. He wrote to remind himself, I cannot control events, but I can control my perception of them. This is the Stoic lens, and the best way to sharpen that lens daily. Meditation, Stoic style. Now forget the fluffy stuff. This isn't about sitting under a tree and visualizing butterflies. This is meditation as mental warfare. Dark psychology. Emotion is the enemy, and it's always lurking. From a psychological standpoint, your brain is wired to react. Your limbic system, your fight or flight mechanism, is constantly scanning for threat, insult, rejection, or discomfort. And in the age of overstimulation, it doesn't take much. One negative comment, one unexpected message, one flash of insecurity, and boom, you're hijacked. You're no longer in command, you're reacting, emotionally leaking power. You've gone from master to puppet. But the Stoic understands this and trains against it daily, through stillness. Because when you sit in silence, not to escape, but to observe, you see those emotional surges rise before they take control. You name them, you detach from them, and slowly you gain the rarest kind of power, emotional sovereignty. Comment this right now. I respond with purpose. I do not react from emotion. Lock that in. Declare it. This phrase is your code. The ritual, 5-10 minutes of tactical stillness. You don't need an hour. You need intensity, precision. Here's how to do it. Sit upright, eyes closed or soft gaze, feet planted, no music. Focus on your breath. Inhale through the nose, 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale slowly for 6. Watch your thoughts. Don't fight them. Let them appear like clouds. Just don't follow them. When a surge comes, anger, fear, insecurity, notice it, name it. Say, this is anger. I do not feed it. Return to breath. Return to stillness. After a few minutes, you'll notice something strange. The mind slows down. The chatter fades. Your heart rate steadies. What's happening? You're separating yourself from your thoughts. And in that space, freedom lives. Because the moment you realize you're not your emotions, you become the one who controls them. This is where true power begins. Not in loud strength, but in quiet control. Tactical calm, und psychological dominance. People think dominance is aggression. It's not. Real dominance is when you stay calm while others spiral. When someone tries to trigger you, and you smile with still eyes, you become terrifying, because you can't be moved. This is how CEOs lead empires. This is how warriors walk through danger. This is how the Stoic walks through life, not shaken, but centered. Type it again and mean it. I respond with purpose. I do not react from emotion. Let that become part of your daily code. This is not just content. This is your weaponization. Section 6. The Discipline Declaration. Crafting a morning code that cannot be broken. What good is strength, focus, and stillness if they aren't aimed at something? In a world drowning in distraction, there is one thing that separates the master from the masses: a code. Your code is not a to-do list. It is not a productivity hack. It is your personal constitution, a set of rules so embedded in your identity that you'd rather bleed than break them. Because without a code, you're available to everything. You're reactive. You drift. You negotiate with weakness. But with a code, you become inevitable. The Stoic foundation. Live according to principle, not emotion. Marcus Aurelius didn't ask himself how he felt each morning. He reminded himself what was right, what was necessary. He wrote over and over. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. He didn't ask for motivation. He asked for alignment with his values. This is the essence of Stoicism. To live according to nature, which means to live according to reason, purpose, and virtue. To let your principles lead, not your moods. And this is where your morning becomes sacred. Each morning, you must declare your discipline. Not just think it, not just write it, speak it, out loud, with conviction. That's how you shape identity. That's how you anchor intent. the dark psychology of identity. Anchoring. Let's go deeper. According to dark psychology and identity theory, your brain is always looking for confirmation of who you are. If you say, "I'm disciplined," but your actions betray you, your subconscious labels you a liar. If you say, "I don't quit," but you hit snooze 5 times, you fracture trust in yourself. But if you declare a code, and you honor it no matter what, your brain starts to see you differently. You're not trying to be disciplined. You are a disciplined man. That shift is profound, and it starts every morning with what I call your discipline declaration, a short, fierce statement of the kind of man you are choosing to be. Comment this below and claim it. I obey my code. I do not negotiate with weakness. Write it. Let the world and your own mind hear it. How to craft your morning code. Now let's make this practical. Choose 3 to 5 principles you refuse to compromise. These are not goals. These are identity rules. Examples. I do not hit snooze. I train daily no matter what. I speak with clarity and restraint. I do not escape pain. I face it. I do what I said I would do, especially when I no longer feel like it. Write them down, physically, every day. This activates your prefrontal cortex, the decision-making part of the brain, and quiets your emotional reactivity. Speak them aloud. Tone is critical. Say it like you mean it, like your life depends on it. Live them, even if it's hard, especially when it's hard. Discipline isn't about comfort. It's about alignment, about facing discomfort with the fire of purpose. Final thought. A man without a code is a weapon without a target. You've done the breath work. You've done the cold. You've visualized. You've trained. You've sat in silence. Now you must declare who you are, so the world doesn't do it for you. Because if you don't define yourself, someone else will. And when the storms of life come, and they will, you will not flinch. You will not fold. You will stand tall because you are anchored in your code. Comment again. I obey my code. I do not negotiate with weakness. This is your badge. This is your edge.